Good afternoon. So this video is going to be about why the power of praying at midnight and at 3 a.m. Why do I keep saying pray at midnight and at 3 a.m., right? So in 2023, I was pregnant. I got pregnant. Prior to getting pregnant, I was heavy in the Lord. I was working and building up my relationship with God. I got very, very serious about the Lord. And I became pregnant. I did not know I was pregnant at the time. I was working in the healthcare field. I had a job. And on that job, God kept telling me, you need to leave this job. You need to leave this job. You need to leave this job. And I was disobedient. I did not want to leave that job because I was making a good amount of money. I was doing well for myself financially. And I was like, Lord, what is going to happen with my finances? I did not trust the Lord. I was living in disobedience, the spirit of pride, and outside of the alignment of God for my life. I hid my pregnancy on that job. No one knew I was pregnant. There was a woman that was working on that job with me. And God was ministering to my spirit that she was into witchcraft. She was into high witchcraft, to be exact. My spirit did not align with her spirit at all. I was very uneasy around her. I was always anxious, very apprehensive. I'm a very private person, so I never overshared my business. And what she would do on that job was she would push for information, for me to share information with her on the job, like personal information that you should not be asking someone. God kept saying, you need to leave this job, you need to leave this job, you need to leave this job. I was consumed and worried about what was going to happen to my finances. I did not want to go without my finances. I was disobeying the Lord. God made that job so overwhelmingly difficult for me, right? It became worse and worse and worse, right? So this woman would try to give me food. She would try to offer me food on the job. And I said, no. I was very polite. I do not accept food and I do not eat from people. But she kept pushing and pushing. The same way she kept prying for information, a monitoring spirit. She was a witch and a monitoring agent. God kept saying, you need to get off this job. You need to go. I did not listen. And I want you to listen to me carefully. One day, I was driving to work and I broke down and I started to cry in my job because the job had became so overwhelming. Things was happening on that job. And I said, things had became overwhelming on the job. It's not that I didn't know how to do the job. I knew to do the job very, very well. No one knew how to do what I could have done. But God made it that way because he was pushing me. He was making me uncomfortable. So I refused the food. I said, God, I need you to reveal to me that this woman is into what you're telling me. So she said to me, here's a picture frame for your baby boy. You could put his picture in here. So in my mind, I stayed quiet and I said, how does she know it's a boy? How did she know that? Because no one knew that I was pregnant on that job because I hid my pregnancy. I was 5 months pregnant when I got the picture frame from her. Every good gift is not a good gift. Do not receive gift from people. Don't eat from people. When I got on the picture frame, whatever she did to that picture frame to come in contact with me, God said to throw it out. I forgot. I threw it on the passenger seat. I left it there and I forgot. When I went into my car to drive home, my water broke right there and then. God sustained me because I thought, hey, pregnant woman, I wasn't in any type of pain. When you're pregnant, you get very wet down there. You would release fluid. So I went home and I told my husband, I said, hey, I think I urinated on myself at work today. He was like, let's go to the hospital. So I was like, no, I'm not in no type of pain. It's not like the water was gushing, but I was leaking down there. I went to work the very next day. I worked from 8:30 a.m. to like 6 in the afternoon. At the end of the day, my chair was drenched. I am in labor. I called my OBGYN. She said, you need to go to the hospital right away. The ambulance that I called would have took an hour. So I drove myself to the hospital. When I got to the hospital, a whole entire world was about to open up for me. I was admitted into the OR. While I was in the OR, they had to test my fluid. The doctor said, hey, we're going to have to keep you here. Mind you, hours has passed and I'm in this OR. I started to pray out loud. I did what I knew best. I started to call on my Father in heaven. I started to intercede on behalf of my child that was in my stomach. There was other women in there as well, so I started to pray for them. I ended up getting a room the very next day, so I spent a whole night in the OR. And that night I could not sleep, so I just kept praying and praying and praying. The doctor would then come see me and tell me, hey, you're going to be in here for the rest of your pregnancy, which would be, I was 5 months pregnant. And it was August. My due date was November, close to December. So that would have been 5 months. And I'm like, no, I'm not staying here. So I was like, no, I am not staying here. I said, God is going to get me out of here. The doctors and the nurses thought I was nuts. They did not know that I work in healthcare. They had no clue. I did not reveal that I was working in healthcare. They did not know that I worked in healthcare. I kept that to myself. When I was transferred to the maternity ward, there was myself and a whole bunch of other women that went into early labor. I was by myself for 2 days, and what I did in those 2 days would have changed my life. I anointed my room. I got my husband to bring me my Bible, my anointed oil, and sticky notes with papers and a notepad. And I started to write down what God was telling me. I told the doctor, like, hey, I go to church and I am allowed to go on the line. So I go to Bible study on Tuesday and I have prayer on Friday. So I was like, this is my schedule. You can hook me up on IV, give me my medication, but do not disturb me. I would have had 13 to 18 roommates while I was in the hospital. What I started to do when I was in the hospital was I started to pray for these mothers. There was mothers that was in the early labor. Some of them would be so sad they would be crying out. So I would pray. I was very shy at the time. God was pushing me into my purpose, but I was, like I said, I was living in disobedient, right? I was being disobedient and I was outside of the alignment of God for my life. I wasn't doing what he was telling me to do. I ended up finding a chapel in that hospital. And even though the doctor had put in me, I was bedridden. I was not supposed to walk. I prayed that God would keep me. I would put my headphones on and I would listen to worship music in the chapel. And I would sing and I would dance at midnight from 12 a.m. to 3 a.m., sometimes 5 a.m. in the morning. I would leave a note and tell the nurses, hey, I am in the chapel. I will take whatever medication I needed to do, right? I was praying through this hospital. I was in the hospital for 3.5 weeks. God took me out after 3 weeks. The doctor told me I would have been in this hospital for almost 5 months, 5.5 months. But I fasted and prayed my way out of that hospital by praying in the midnight. Now, here is the kicker. My child was born at 5 months and he had to go into the NICU. He was in an incubator. He was on oxygen. He had to be on oxygen. He was small as a pen. If you can get a pen and look at a pen, that's how small he was. 800 grams. So what I did then would change the trajectory of my life. I would go to visit my son and I would sit in the parking lot with my car in the nighttime and I would pray from 12 midnight to 5 a.m. in the morning. The doctor said my son would have been blind. He would have had glaucoma. He would have needed open heart surgery. He would have been on oxygen for the rest of his life. He would have had lung issues and a whole list of other medical issues. I said, no, this is not my son's portion. I took the Bible every time I would visit him twice in a day. And I would have had to, I had to drive 45 minutes to the hospital going and coming, right? Twice. So at night, I said, no, I'm going to stay here and I'm going to pray. I prayed at 12 a.m. midnight, listen to me carefully, to 5 a.m. My husband thought I was crazy. When I would go to see my child in the hospital in the NICU, I would pray for the other babies as well. Right? And when I was in the hospital in the maternity ward, I was praying for the mothers so their child would live, right? Their babies in the NICU. And the babies lived and the mother, God fixed them up. So God was birthing my purpose in the worst time of my life. So what a witch meant for my evil, God turned it for my good. My baby ended up staying in the NICU for 120 days. So I prayed at midnight for 120 days. I fasted. I did not give up. And I said, this is not his portion. He's going to live. And I was speaking over his life, what I wanted him to be, how I wanted him to be in life, right? Because the enemy wanted to take him out from the first time he was in my stomach. And the witch, she saw the glory and the destiny on his life. And she wanted to take him out, but she could not. Because his mother, I stood in the gap for his life. Today, my son did not have to have open heart surgery. He didn't have to do any surgery. He is not on oxygen. He did not come home on oxygen. He has better eyesight than I do. He has no medical issues. He has no medical issues. He has no medical issues. Everything that the doctor had diagnosed him with and said how he would be. Even when I went to the OR, one of the doctors was like, oh, you should give this baby up. You should have an abortion because his life, he's going to be born with so much medical issues. My son have no medical issues. I have no medical issues. I had an emergency C-section and I bled out gallons of blood that I had to get 3 blood transfusion. God saved my life. In that hospital, he sent a surgeon that was specifically designed to take care of me, to stitch up my C-section wound. And all the blood that I bled out, I said, God, I don't want to feel no pain. God did not allow me to feel any pain. There was a woman while I was in the hospital, and she said her baby would have died. And I got up out of my bed. I jumped up out my bed and I started to pray for this woman and for her child. I went to the chapel and I started worshiping God. I said, God, if you would make this baby and this baby live, I will stop running from you. I will do what you will call me to do. I will talk about you. I will share my life with you. And God allowed that baby to live. That woman was discharged, and after I would have seen her months after she was discharged, and she told me that, hey, my baby is doing well. He is thriving. The baby lived, and the mother was looking so beautiful. Why am I telling you this testimony? Because praying at midnight has changed my life. I prayed for 120 days. I had prayed for additional 102 days for my own life, my own salvation. When I was in that hospital, patients was getting discharges. They was getting discharged by the 100, and the doctors were like, why are all of these patients getting discharged out of here? Because I prayed the hospital down. God put me in that hospital to work for him, to do assignment. It was one of the worst time in my life, but it was one of the best time of my life because it showed me what I was capable of. In the hospital bed, while I was pregnant with my child, I was fasting. And even though I gave birth to my child at 5 months, God kept me. He kept my baby. We went through the process. But during that time, I was praying at night. You could not stop me. All you have to do is make up your mind. You can do it. If I could have done it in the worst situation of my life, when the doctors was telling me it was slim to none. Oh, your child would have been like this. My baby, my son, that the enemy tried to take out, is going to be a great man for God. He is a great man of the Lord. My baby has no medical issues. The holes that he had in his heart are closed up. He has better vision than I do. He can see from here. Any little thing he can find. And he is so brilliant. And he's so godly, full of the power of the Lord. He's only 2 years old. And he can say, hallelujah, Jesus. He knows how to worship. He knows when to pray. He will pull my hands and say, Mommy, it is time to pray. He knows my prayer hours. God delivered me. And he showed up for me. And he changed my son situation and for me. 12 a.m., 3 a.m., 5 a.m., 6 a.m. Do not play around with your life. This is one of my testimony. This is one of my testimony, and I'm sharing with you. I was 5 months pregnant, working on a job that God was telling me to come off of that job, but I was disobedient. But God turned it around for my good. When someone tried to do witchcraft on me to take me and my unborn child out of this world, ended up in a hospital, praying for strangers and mother and people that I've never met in my life. God, even though I had to have an emergency C-section, bled out, almost died, God kept me. And my son had to stay in the hospital for 120 days, and he had to go to rehab for a month. But he got out early. And what did I do? I turned my plate down. I fasted. I went to seek the Lord in the midnight hour. I prayed and prayed. I fasted and I fasted. The doctor said that my son would have been blind. He would have had glaucoma. He would have had a hole in his heart. He would have been on an oxygen machine for the rest of his life. He would have had so many medical issues. My son have 0 medical issues. He never had, they wanted to do open heart surgery and God said, no, wait. They never had to do open heart surgery. We went through the process, myself and my child. My child has a clean bill of health and so do I. I'm telling this to you. This is one of my testimony. There is power. There is power in midnight prayer. There is power in praying. There is power in having a relationship with the Lord. There is power in seeking the Lord with all of your heart. What was meant for my evil, God turned it around for my good. And that job that I desperately did not want to leave, God has taken care of me better than that job. Better than that job could have ever. I had so much more than I've ever had, trying to make a way for myself. So God, I hope this find the right person at the right time that needs to hear this testimony, and let it be a blessing and a wake-up call for them. In Jesus' name, amen.